All right. It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse, Star Tribune columnist, of course, joins me as he typically does on Mondays. Patrick, I think we got to talk Twins and Vikings primarily again here. We're still kind of in that zone where the other things aren't starting up quite yet, although we got to talk some Gopher football and a little bit of amateur baseball as well, because there was quite a game Sunday night, 21 innings. That's a lot of amateur baseball, but Patrick, the Twins, they give us something to talk about every week. That is kind of them. And you were out there. It sounds like you were out there Friday before they started this series against the Giants, and they limped into this series. They lost 6 in a row. Rocco had that kind of tried to fire up the troops before that last game against the Astros, and it didn't seem like it worked all that well because they lost that game. But they came back home. And lo and behold, they have, a 9-0 win, and then they come back and win that game Saturday, which was pretty awfully important. You're down to your last out, you can end up winning that game. And then they win again Sunday, 8-3. And Jake Cave all of a sudden is their unlikely hero. We every time we try to bury them, and we even said that last week when they were struggling, every time we try to bury them, they crawl out of the ground. What do you make of that? Just that's baseball, or do you what did you see this weekend?
I agree with you. That Saturday game, they were terrible. I mean, they were 1-0, and they get runners on first and third, nobody out in the eighth, and don't score. And you say, "Oh my God, is this terrible?" And then they sneak it out and get some runs in the ninth inning and tie it. They give up a run at the top of the ninth. You figure they did. Then they tie it and they win it in the 10th. And that was kind of a sneak out of the hole, win a game. And this is a bad Giants team that somehow had been close to 500, but they are very impotent offensively. So then they, and the big thing that happened to him, I mean, Jake Cave was a hero yesterday, but Carlos Correa came out of his coma, and that, he hit that 2-run homer to get started on Friday. He went down and, got a pitch that, and he just smacked it out of the park, and he ended up getting seven hits or something during the weekend. So yeah. It would be nice if he'd decide to join the party, wouldn't it? You get him and Arise and Polanco up there at the top of the order, you can, get something going at least. And here's the other thing. Now Boston's coming to town. They got two pitchers I've never heard of with high ERAs pitching the first 2 games. I mean, these are not the Red Sox of, they're under 500 too, and they aren't very good. So
they're in last place in the AL East.
Oh, by a landslide.
By 5 or 6 games, yeah.
Because Baltimore has been surprisingly good, and Toronto and Tampa. I think Toronto had to drive. If you followed Toronto, they'd have to drive you nuts with that lineup, because they end up getting swept at home by the Angels. Right? They got this weekend, so there was a lot of weird stuff going on. But yeah, they're. Cleveland had to go play Seattle, and they lost 3 out of 4, and that's understandable. They're on the road, and they snuck one out there on Saturday night.
Yeah, but they were down 3-1 in that game, right?
And they got beat again Sunday. So, you get the Giants at home, and they're playing at Seattle. You should gain ground, and they did. So they're back to 2. And meanwhile, the Mighty Whiteys doing everything they can to get Tony La Russa fired.
Yeah, right.
They tank again. They're now back under 500. I think they're 63 and 65. I saw this morning.
Yeah, they're 3 behind the Twins and 5 out of the division race.
Man, they just are not going to ever get their act together, apparently. And Jerry Reinsdorf is too stubborn to get Tony. And Tony, now I saw Tony post-game interview yesterday where he says, frustrated, and and he was just babbling, talking around. He says, "I'm not frustrated. I'm mad." Well, isn't that the same thing? I don't know.
Right.
But, it just looks like a wasted year down there when they have by far the best talent in the division. So what was he? Rocco was saying, on Friday, he says, "Hey, we could play our best ball of the year these last 40 games. There were only 39 left, but, and we're all kind of looking at him. But I think one thing they did this weekend is, Cabe kind of snuck in there and played on for Sunday, but it looks like they're kind of settling into a lineup here,
right?
A Buxton free lineup, and Nick Gordon playing left where he belongs. Don't play him in center, and then Celestino. Now he forgot how many outs there were yesterday, but in a play. But they're playing him in center field, and who else wasn't completely helpless in this series? Kepler. So if he decided to get 3 hits a week, that would be nice too. So and then they played their first team most of the weekend. Urshel played, and they gave Polanco a day off one day, but it looked like, okay, this is the lineup instead of this throwing darts at the board type of thing that they've been doing for weeks now. And you got to play Nick Gordon, I guess. He drives you nuts. He runs the bases like Disco Dan Ford, but he's you got to play him in left field, and you just kind of got to settle in. This is your group, and Urshel is playing third, and Miranda's playing first, and the other guys are in the middle of the infield, and one or the other catchers, and let's go here. Come on.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. But Jay Cave, when Jay Cave knocks in 4 runs, you better win, right?
MGM Wine and Spirits is the choice for savings, service, and a great selection of spirits, pre-mixed cocktails, wines, and of course, ice-cold beers and hard seltzers. With over 30 locations throughout the Twin Cities and beyond, there's an MGM near you. Head to mgmwineandspirits.com to find a convenient location in your area. Get social. Follow MGM on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest news and trends. Make great moments with MGM Wine and Spirits, your locally owned and operated choice for over 50 years. Save time, save money. Shop MGM.
Yeah, you better win that game. And, obviously had that huge hit on Saturday, the tying hit after Correa had extended the game with, I think, an RBI single as well. One thing I was struck by, too, and we've been kind of talking about this in fits and spurts, but I think it was in the notebook the other day, Start Tribune. I can't remember if it was Phil or Megan who was covering the game, but just how many players they're going to get back or could get back here relatively soon with, sounds like Malley should be that feels like it'll be relatively short term. They're talking about Ober and Maeda maybe being available soonish. They're kind of doing rehab assignments. They got Larnick maybe coming back here. They're hoping on Jeffers. I mean, Buxton at a certain point too. It's like, if they can put together a little something now and then get, some pretty good players back for the last 25 or 30 games, that will certainly help too, because they got 17 games left still with Cleveland and Chicago.
Yeah. I did hear Provis say yesterday when I was in the car that, and he talks to Rocco every day. He does the pregame, and he probably gets the best information to anybody, because before the pregame, there's actual information given to him, and he said Maeda was unlikely, that that it's not that there's no possibility of him being able to pitch. They just don't know if they want to. After sitting out of losing him for 2 years, they don't want to, they wouldn't want to take a risk to have him pitch relief. This way they can give him a few extra months and he'll be ready to go in February. So, but that keeps getting mentioned as a possibility too. So that would, have him pitch relief, which he did do with the Dodgers a lot. And Ober, I'd like to see him get Ober back. And know who else pitched in St. Paul last night?
Who?
Randy Dobnak.
Oh, yeah. The forgotten Randy Dobnak.
The man who stole $9 million and never had to go to jail. It's pretty good. It's unbelievable.
He got that contract.
That contract it's of all the money that they put in a pile and burned, that's number one.
Wasn't it like a 5-year contract too?
Right. Well, they got him at a bargain rate, and he said, he's some hillbilly who pitched in West Virginia. He said, what? Yes. Hell yes. You got how many zeros here? Let's do it. I'll never figure that one out. Why they thought this guy with a 91 mile an hour sinker and no other pitch could become a contributor. It's unbelievable. But he did pitch for St. Paul last night. I saw after a bad finger. It cost him 2 years, right? So
Well, he's been on a journey too, because he started game 2 of the division series in 2019 in Yankee Stadium.
Yes, yeah, that
for a
is
101 win team.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Yeah, that is. People say, "Oh, they couldn't beat the Yankees," and they won 101 games. So what? They couldn't beat the Yankees. Yeah, they started Randy Dobnik in Yankee Stadium. Of course, they couldn't beat the Yankees, for God's sakes. So, but yeah, it's they're going to get a little. I really like see Ober as an addition to the bullpen. I think that might be his future. I just don't know if that if he's going to hold up, if he's going to be a starter. But I know they got to try to make some guys starters, but he looks more like a relief pitcher to me. So he would be a good addition. When they get to September 1st, you can have 28 players, but you can only one of the guys you add can be a pitcher. It's got to be 14 and 14. So it's not like they're going to be able to put a whole bunch of new guys in. One of the interesting things in baseball that's gone unnoticed pretty much in since they came back from the pandemic is the AAA season now goes till the end of September.
Yeah.
So, you can't have an unlimited number of players on your roster like you used to, but they now have AAA keep playing, so you can still do that shuffle, where if you want to bring up Cotton again, you can
right.
EFA somebody else again and bring that guy up. So that's how you keep moving. They had to let them play another month so they can, keep shuffling players back and forth like they do. But, Cleveland is, you keep looking at Cleveland, they have good pitching, but
right.
They still don't dazzle you when they have the lineup. So even though the Twins are extremely flawed, it's not like impossible here that they could stumble into the playoffs. But if they go into the playoffs, whoever wins the West will be the worst of the. Whoever wins the Central will be the worst of the 6
yes
teams going into the playoffs. There's no doubt about that. So,
who's had nice little bounce back lately is Joe Ryan. I mean, we've kind of talked about him. He's, we kind of hit that little lull in the middle of the season where he's getting knocked around a bit, but he was pretty good the other night when he got 6 innings, scoreless. He's been about, he and, Sonny Gray has been pretty dependable this year too, I suppose. His ERA is actually Sonny Gray's ERA is 3.04 now, but, Ryan being, about as advertised this series, their only pitcher with double-digit wins. He's got 10 now. Nobody else has more than 7. And even Dylan Bundy has been pretty decent since kind of hitting that wall in the middle of the year too. So
he's done well for a guy that they basically tell him every time he pitches they have no confidence in him.
Right. I don't care how good.
We don't know how good you are. We still think it's a miracle that you're getting people out and we can't get you out of the game, baby, because we see you out there, you kind of got this red face like you're huffing and puffing. We're worried about you. You're always one pitch of getting taken out of the game. We don't care if you got 15 straight batters out. We have no faith in you. They've delivered that message to Dylan Bundy.
He's like the old, what was they used to say about Leroy Horde? I can't remember who said it about him or if he said it about himself, but if you need 2 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. If you need 5 yards, I'll get you 3 yards. It's like Dylan Bundy is, if you need 3 innings, I'll get you 5 innings. If you need 7 innings, I'll get you 5 innings. It's kind of how they're treating him.
And even if I could get you 7, I'm not going to let. We're not going to let you. So
no.
Yeah, he started off great. And then he was terrible, and the numbers are never going to be really good. But he's been competitive. He's been okay.
Yes.
Chris Archer has been a much bigger problem than him because sometimes he's bad, and then other times he goes 4. He just puts too much stress on you, and it's too bad he can't pitch relief. But he can't pitch relief because of all his injury history. So, I think we might have seen the last of Aaron Sanchez yesterday, but who knows? He might still be their 5th starter too. I don't know. They keep slapping this together, but Yeah, it's well, they're only they're 4 over. You're only 4 over.
Yeah.
It's a nice world when you can be 4 over in September and you're still right there. So
Well, I was looking at the expanded standings last night because I just had some kind of time on my hands. They're at their current record right now is 65 and 61. That is the 15th best record in baseball. They are very much in the middle of the pack there. Of the teams over 500, they are the least over 500 than anybody else. So, I mean, it does tell you a little bit, that they are competitive, yes, but they're benefiting greatly from this division. And by the way, schedule came out last week, and that was another reminder that they're not going to have the AL Central to knock around so much next year when they go to the 13 games against the division guys instead of 19. Now that means the rest of the AL Central, the rest of the AL Central has to play everybody else now too. So
yeah, we're all in favor of this. Although I keep bringing up to you is you have gone from playing 8 National League teams to 4.
All of them.
Added 7 series. You've added 7 teams to your schedule for 3-game series, and if you get rained out on Thursday,
yep.
What are you going to do? They're not coming to your place. You're not going to their place. Are they going to throw 5 days at the end of the season where you make up games before the playoffs start? What are they going to do?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It rains. We found that out this weekend. It rains.
It does rain occasionally here. Yeah.
So but I'm if it works, I'm all in favor. You know who's not in favor of it is Rocco and the guys, because it adds a lot of flights.
Yeah.
It adds a lot of flights. So anyway.
Yeah. They're also the stunning stat too that I didn't realize they're 15-12 against the AL East this year. And that goes right into this Boston series.
That is, and one of that, and is that all they have left now, Boston?
No, they got the Yankees again, don't they?
Got to go to New York, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they got.
Or are the Yankees coming here? I can't remember, but they do play the Yankees. Yeah, who, by the way, just lost 2 in a row to Oakland.
Yeah, they've been in a free fall since the All-Star break.
Yeah, they haven't been mighty. Now they lost 20 out of 30, and then they had a little surge and they beat the Mets a couple of times, but then they just got beat twice by Oakland. So they're not quite the powerhouse that Houston is.
Patrick, let's switch gears a little bit to Vikings. I'm a little worried about this team. I don't know. I feel
even
like
without any regulars, it's a little hard to know if we should be worried or not, I think. But go ahead.
What I'm worried about is every year in the NFL, there's going to be injuries, right? There's going to be times where you need to reach down into your depth. And I'd watched some of kind of distractedly watched those first 2 preseason games. So watching that third one on Saturday, watched it pretty much in full against my better judgment. And their backups they're not good. I just don't feel like I'm worried about the depth, I guess. And I'm worried about when anything goes wrong this year at any position, I don't have a lot of confidence in their ability to weather that storm. So I'm starting to worry a little bit that this is going to be more of like a 7-win team, and that they're going to have to do more to reshape this, even with the top heavy roster, even with some star power. I'm worried about the depth right now.
Yeah, and life is you're going to lose. I've always said it's what determines a lot of it is, a lot of NFL teams are okay. They're going to be competitive. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. But do you get 2 starters hurt or do you get 6? Right. You're going to get 2 hurt. And, if it's a year when you get 2 hurt, unless one of them's your quarterback or something, you can survive. If you get 6 hurt, you're going in the tank. And so it's so hard, the NFL, to say definitively, here's my opinion on this team, because you don't know if they're going to be healthy or not. For instance, Green Bay, you look at them right now. Their 2 best offensive linemen are doubtful. Bakhtari has been doubtful for 5 years, right?
Right.
And Jenkins, their center. They're already the Green Bay hasn't winning 13 games for 3 years in a row or whatever it is. They've never put their whole offensive line on the field, and now right away They're playing the Vikings, who should have a much improved pass rush if Hunter and Smith are both healthy.
Yes.
And they're coming in here. They might not have their offensive line, and the Vikings might look great. We might all declare them Super Bowl, go to the Super Bowl. We're looking great because we beat the Packers, and then you get a couple of guys hurt, and they could go a completely opposite direction. So I don't really have a definitive opinion on this team right now or not. I know they have pretty good starters, I think, offensively for sure. I guess we've been reminded enough by the Star Tribune guys and everybody else. You got to as we were absorbing it last year, did we have any idea how bad their defense was playing?
Right.
It was terrible.
Well, they couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't stop the pass.
Yes. And the stat about the last 2 minutes of the first half, unbelievable.
Yes.
30% of their points in the last 2 minutes of the first half.
Yes, it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of watching it, and you don't really absorb how dramatically inept they were finishing halves and finishing games. So if they're better, one way to do, we complained about old Zim, but if you could run the ball a little at the end of the half and not let the other team get it with 2.5 minutes to go, you're going to be a lot better off. So I do think, either the short passing game or Dalvin Cook's got to get him in a position where they can hold the ball when they get it with 2.5 minutes to go in the half instead of giving up a touchdown.
Yeah, I was just looking at part of my pessimism was watching that game. Part of my pessimism was looking at Andrew Kramer did his projected 53-man roster final cuts. They've got to do final cuts by Tuesday, I think. And just looking at some of these positions, it was like the depth chart at cornerback with Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler, Chandon Sullivan, Andrew Booth Jr. And then just looking at some of these other spots, offensive line might be okay. Defensive edge rushers, yeah, I'm worried about linebacker. By the way, do you see the punter they kept? This Ryan Wright. He's like 6'2", 240.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
I hadn't seen him until the game the other night.
Wasn't the other guy pretty good?
Jordan Berry, yeah, he was fine. It was kind of a surprise cut.
Probably saved 200,000 or something. Maybe that's they might have been saving nickels, So
yeah, that's true.
Who knows? So,
yeah, he's like he's like the approximate weight and size of a linebacker, not a typical punter. So
where did they have that? Who had the 290 pounder? Was it either somebody the Gophers played or the Gophers started the season with or something?
I can't remember, but you're right. I remember that
lineman punter. I can't remember who that guy was, but it was like, what the hell? What's he doing punting? He was like the fat kid who played right field. It was unbelievable. It was doing it. But that was weird. And somebody said that Joseph really liked Barry as his holder. But he made a 58-yarder. So I guess nobody's nervous about it, although it was in Denver. So that adds 5. There's no bigger ripoff in sports, ladies and gentlemen, than exhibition football.
Oh, it's gotten worse too.
Oh God, way worse. 37 guys didn't play. And then the one guy that did play, BC Johnson, ended up getting hit, right? So
yeah. And the
hurt.
T.Y. McGill too, this guy that's been a good pass rusher for them. He got hurt and hurt his ankle in that game too. They lost like a bunch of guys to injury, even though they're trying to protect. It was like the best of their unprotected guys got hurt in that game. And that's, it's just, I don't know. It's just a feeling I've got right now. And I could be wrong. You're right. They could come out and play the Packers and look great. And, all of a sudden it's, because their top heavy roster is good. Like their best 15 or 20 players are about as good as, any other team's best 15 or 20 players, but any kind of depth problems, which they've had over the last few years. And, when you say if Danielle Hunter's healthy, yeah, well, that's a big if. If Zadarius Smith is healthy, yeah, that's a big if. If they, if Thielen and Jefferson make it through a whole year and you don't have to dig into that wide receiver depth, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, Patrick.
They could be hitting the waiver wire too a little bit.
Well, they already had to do that for their backup quarterback. Sounds like he'll be the number 2. Mullins.
We didn't risk playing him, so that's
right.
Okay. Kenyon and Mond out there, but to get hurt, but we didn't want the new guy to get hurt. So he'll be the back. I mean, they didn't go and get him, with Adolph Mensa knowing the guy. That was a pretty good indication that they were going to make him their number 2 quarterback. So let's see Cousins on there. We don't know anything about Cousins. We don't know if he's throwing it good or bad. We don't have any idea what kind of a training camp run had. We haven't seen him at all. So.
No, all we know is he thinks that he likes the O'Connell offense, but says it's been complicated.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll see how much different that is now.
We'll
few more pass patterns, I guess. So anyway.
Hey, you were telling me about a 21 inning baseball game Sunday night. What Bird Island over Loretto in the was it Class C tournament?
The Class C tournament. The Class C tournament's 48 teams.
Okay.
And the B tournament is 16, and then there's many more C teams than and in the Class C tournament, the first week, which was last week, there's 16 region champs, right? And they get a bye. They don't play till the second week, and then the other 30. Then there's 16 games in the first weekend in the 3 different towns, and then Class B gets started too. And Class B goes to double elimination, but not until the final 4. So anyway, but the Class C tournament, which is almost every day, they're playing at Faribault, which you got a beautiful park, and you should see the new Dundas. What they've done at Dundas, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Spent 150,000 sprucing that place up. And then Meansville has had mostly Class B games. So I was down there Saturday, and they had a nice crowd and everything was fine. Well, they got 4 inches of rain that night.
Oh, geez.
Oh, yesterday, Sunday, I was talking to Mike Nagel, who runs the Bird Island team, earlier this morning, and he said he thought the whole city of Dundas showed up to help them get the field dry. They started about an hour late with their games yesterday. They had 4 Class C games there yesterday. And so they started about noon, a little after noon. One of the first 2 games went extra innings. And then by the time the 4th game of the night, Bird Island and the Loretto Koskis, Corey and his 3 kids.
Yeah.
By the time they started, they were running about 2 hours late. So 7 something they started, maybe right around 7, a little before 7, I guess. And they played. This is the 99th year of the state amateur baseball tournament. They played the longest game in state amateur tournament history. When there'd been 2 20-inning games, they got to the 21st. Koski hit a home run in the middle of the game off Mike Kingery's kid, Josh.
Amazing.
A connection here. Koski tried to throw him a fastball and threw it in the middle of the plate, and Koski smacked it out on the right center field at age 49.
Wow.
He hit the home run. He DH'd the whole game. But in the middle of this game, Bird Island pitched a no-hitter. They had 9 no-hit. Nobody could score a run. Finally, in the 21st inning, Bird Island gets a run on a sacrifice fly, a very close play at the plate. So they score. I got to think that guy would have had to be really out for the umpire to. I mean, it would have had been 8 feet, right, for the umpire to not end the game. But 21 innings, 5 hours and 36 minutes. Did you say there's a note?
662 pitches.
662. 48 strikeouts there were in the game.
Oof.
40 strikeouts. Everybody but one guy who hit in the game struck out.
Wow.
Once, but 48 strikeouts. Ended about 12:15 this morning. Longest game in state amateur baseball history by length. By innings played. 21 innings. Bird Island won. Now it if it had happened to these teams next weekend, I talked to Mike Nagel this morning. He runs Bird Island, as I said. He said, if this had happened to us in our first game next week, because the winner, the Class C team, has to win. To win it, has to win 4 games next weekend.
Okay.
1 Saturday, 2 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. He said we would have had the Bat Boy pitching in the next game, but they get a few days off here.
Right.
Now till Saturday. But yeah, they went 21 innings deep into the night. He said there was about 100 people. But the thing about the amateur baseball tournament, it is just like everything else. You can watch it on TV on this Spotlight, whatever that Spotlight that does all the prep games and all that. And so people are watching the state amateur. We used to get the scores 2 days later by carriage, and now you can watch it if you want to. And they're, when you're in the press box like I was on Saturday, they got another game, a game from another location, Faribault, on the TV there. So
that's amazing.
It is. You can follow it, but yeah, it's. I talked to Nagel. I'm going to try to write something real quick here for the Star Tribune when we're done for the website. So
yeah,
it's it was fun, and it was historic, and poor old Corey Koski played all 21 innings, even if it was as a DH. He was out there with his kids, and apparently his youngest kid is had to come in and catch because their catcher got hit with a foul ball, and he came in as a left-handed catcher.
Wow. Wow. Don't see that these days. So
it would have been very interesting if a guy was at the game, if he would have said, I suppose if you hung in there till the 10th or 11th, he would have said, well, what the hell, I got to see this thing. Would have been there till 12:15 in the morning, but pretty amazing thing.
Do you think this is wild tangent, but with running games not being what they are these days anymore, you think we'll see a revival of the potential of a left-handed catcher? Because wasn't the thing always that they didn't want the left-handed catcher because they got to throw the left hand into the right-handed batter's box? Yeah.
So many more right-handed batters and left-handed batters. Although statistically, I don't know if that's as high as it used to be, but yes, that was it. They didn't want, and then I don't know, throwing the right. I don't know what, because it certainly shouldn't have had any impact on throwing the ball to second, should have. So I don't know if we'll see many of them. There haven't been many. I think Jim Hagan was a first baseman with Cleveland for years, was a left-handed catcher when he first started, and I remember him, but I don't know. It is. You see him though, and you think like, what planet is this? How can they have a left-handed catcher?
Right.
But you're right. Nobody runs. So
nobody runs anymore.
Running though. I heard Gladdy have a kind of a tangent about how the Twins never try to steal a base yesterday, and he was pointing out that most of the contenders actually steal a base here and there. So. And now that Billy Hamilton's in the system, maybe they're going to become the go-go twin.
The pinch running ace, yeah.
Rocco assured us that on Friday that signing Bill Hamilton should not be read. We shouldn't read into it that we're done with Buxton for this season.
Okay,
at least playing center field, but I don't know if we should believe them on that. So, they got to say that now. They what the situation is with him, but you know what?
What?
And I mentioned this. He's basically been a good Sano this year.
Yeah, that's what he's been.
Ungodly number of strikeouts, 160 strikeouts, and as a part-time player, it is. I don't know if we should appreciate what he's done this year, because he's got 28 home runs and 51 RBIs. It's your ratio of home runs and RBIs should be like 2.5, shouldn't it?
2.5 or 3, back in the day. But 28 and 51, it's not even 2.
One is not. So he's been better than he's been because he's played a little more. But it's not like he's having this fantastic year.
No,
like he was.
Not since the first month. Patrick, let's finish up quick. You talked to Jerry Kill not too long ago. His New Mexico State squad lost their opener Saturday. The score wasn't as bad as you might have thought, 23-12 to Nevada. So somewhat competitive. Now they got to come play PJ Fleck's Gophers on Thursday. I'm sure most of the drama about that is all in the buildup and not in the game so much itself, because that should be a pretty easy win for PJ Fleck's team. But what was from your conversation with Jerry? What's the mood there right now?
He didn't have any idea what he had. I mean, he certainly hates the idea of having played Saturday night and having to get him on a plane here 4 days later and fly up as 37-point underdogs. And he also has to play Wisconsin in 2 weeks, up there. So he knows he's going to get butchered, but I think they can come out of Saturday's game. They turned it over 5 times and lost 23-12 against a team that last year beat them 50, put up 55 on them. So they must have played better defensively. They must have played okay. And I think they tried to run the ball, but I mentioned Fleck to him for 2 minutes. I figured that already everybody else was on that. But he actually brought it up more than me. He said, well, I probably said more than I should have or something, but he's much more worried about whether he has a decent team as to whether he's going to shake hands with PJ Fleck or not. But he's, to me, the whole thing of talking to him is, how in God's name did you end up down there?
Yes.
And, what a place to make your stand to come back. But I saw his post-game interview. He's skinny, man. He's got the beard, and he's keeping his weight down, obviously, in his battle with epilepsy, and
right.
And he said his blood pressure's down and everything. But yeah, he's I don't know. I would be surprised if he stays there, if this is a long-term deal. He wants to get into this Conference USA. They're getting in a conference next year, and so they won't have to play 3 money games like they're playing this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was okay. He sounded a little weary. He sounded a little beat upon, and and I get along with him well, but he wasn't terribly happy to have to talk to me, because he wants to do much Minnesota media this year, this week. I don't think he knows that's pretty good. I do think he got a bad rap on the Dunkers deal.
Yeah.
He became the bad guy there. They called him up 3 different times, and he finally said yes. And Maturi was in on recruiting for it.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, Maturi's a Dunker, and he was, let's do this. Nobody will care. And, I still don't understand why everybody gave a dang. But, on Thursday morning, he's going to go to the Dunkers, and they're going to ask him a half hour worth of questions. You think that's going to change the fact that the Gophers are going to beat the hell out of them Thursday night? No. So I don't know why people were upset about that, but the Dunkers choked like you knew they would. And I think he's happy that he doesn't have to do it. So, it was, because it was something Jerry Kill didn't call up his old buddies from Dunkers and say, hey,
no.
Can you put me on the panel on Thursday? He was doing them a favor. So I don't know. He doesn't like PJ Fleck. Okay. That's established. He like him, and he didn't like him that well when he left Northern Illinois. They didn't get along that well at the end. And he certainly didn't like him after Tracy Claeys got fired and after going 9-4, and then he immediately started saying it was year 0, and it was a marketing thing. But Kill's he's a sensitive guy, and we saw that a few times when he was up here coaching, and and he did not take it well. So I think his biggest blunder in the whole thing was not telling Charlie Walters and Randy Shaver he doesn't know if he's going to shake hands with him. When he was being interviewed on the Big Ten Network, right, and went out of his way to rip him.
Yes.
Not thinking he'd ever be coaching against him.
Yes. Because that's a good reminder. Be careful what you say. You never know where you're going to wind up.
one thing he told me, it was 4 different times, was, I've never been the same since I left Minnesota.
Yeah,
so
that was interesting. I read that part of it. Well,
I
glad you
think
brought
he's
up. Oh, go ahead.
talking emotionally, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, he walked away from $8 million. I'd have a hard time with that decision too a few years later if I'd become a nomad and knew that I left $8 million on the table, because, if he'd come back and tried to coach and hadn't announced he was retiring, they would have had to pay him. Right. It's a health problem. He would have, he screwed up. He's an impulsive guy, and he was going to do the U a favor and retire and blah, blah, blah. He should have hung in there and made him pay him.
Yeah.
So
Well, we'll see how the game goes. It's Thursday. I'm glad you mentioned the turnovers. I hadn't seen that. They lost the turnover battle 5-0 in that game. Actually outgained Nevada. We're in that game into the fourth quarter. So we'll see. That would be if that was close at halftime, that would be kind of fun.
He also had a transfer quarterback who was like a junior, and he hooked him and put in a true freshman in the second half. And apparently that kid played a little better, because he told me he had 2 quarterbacks and he didn't know which one he was going to play.
Okay.
More veteran one, and then he ended up playing the freshman. So I would guess the freshman's going to play here. But
I think so. Yeah, they only scored 2 points in the first half. They must have had a safety, obviously. And then the second half, they got something going, and they had over 200 passing yards. So, yeah.
That the starting quarterback threw 3 interceptions in the first half.
That's not good. That's not going to help you win.
And if it's a freshman against the Gophers, we're going to have the experience advantage at quarterback in that game.
Yeah, just by 6 years.
We rolled Tanner Morgan. Well, I hope who's older, him or Cousins? I don't know which one.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it all shakes out. Thursday is bad opener. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about that and other stuff next week. Patrick, thank you, sir. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, Michael. See you.